Hello, my name is Justin Bright. Welcome to Kerbal Space Program version 1.2.1, in which I am attempting to make Kerbals a multiplanetary species. As you can see here, I've done some work and some contracts in between episodes to earn some money. We're a little bit over 3 million now, so we can actually start building our Minmus base. That's right, we're going to stop screwing around with contracts and rescues and so forth, and I'll be doing a little bit of that off screen, but to try to get up to that 100 Kerbals number. But for you guys on the screen, I think we're going to actually start building our Minmus base. And that starts with this launch here. This is going to be a Reconnaissance Probe. This is the basic surveyor that is going to determine what sort of resources are available to us. And we're going to use this to figure out how we are going to plan our base. Because there's a lot of different conversions and resources and mining bits that you can do, and you need to do pretty much all of them. I've spent a lot of time kind of studying how these things work and what it is that we need to actually do to get a functional base with a whole bunch of Kerbals. And I'll kind of walk through it as we get there, but for now we're getting to Minmus for the first time, and we'll be doing a whole bunch of this. So as you can see here, we're just kind of plotting out these two maneuver nodes, one right off of Kerbin to get out, and then one on the ascending node so that we can adjust our inclination, even if it is not favorable to us, so we can get to Minmus whenever we want. Setting up a pretty easy polar flyby here, so we can put this in a nice polar orbit, which is what the survey scanner, this is the basic survey scanner, this is what that needs to actually conduct its science. And this gives us a very basic overall picture of what is available as far as resources. So let's open this up. There we go. Now we see all these lovely options. We have a whole bunch of different resources that we can scan through, but it only shows us the average for now. The average for the entire planet, I think, is what that is. To get more detailed scans, we are going to have to launch another vessel. So in addition to our basic survey scanner, which is now on its way out there, you'll see an alarm clock, we have that on its way. We are sending up a narrowband scanner and a little Carbonite scanner. I don't actually know if that Carbonite scanner is going to do anything, but I'm sending it along anyways just in case, because I'm really not sure how all these pieces work yet. We're learning together, everybody. So now we set up a circularization burn for this, our second probe. This is going to be our narrowband scanner, while the bigger survey scanner is going to be in a nice high orbit with lots of relays, antenna, and things like that. This is going to be something that passes over a little bit lower, a little bit closer, so that we can get better details on what the actual site has, so we can actually mark out our site. Get the solar panels extended. I think in my last reinstall I didn't actually get all y'all installed again, so we'll have to get that fixed back up. So the Carbonite scanner looks like it just shows us Carbonite, which is not super helpful. But we flip on our narrowband scanner and gives us latitude and longitude. Unknown average of... that's right, because I don't actually have a survey scan of Kerbin. Probably should have gotten that on my way out, but that's fine. We don't actually need to know what resources are on Kerbin. We assume there is infinite resources, and we have it all shipped to the KSC. Alright, so while those two vessels are flying out towards Minmus, I figured I should finish up some science. I've been sending up new pieces to get plenty of science at the KSS. It's been, like I've mentioned before, kind of the primary source of our science in this Let's Play. So now we just move our scientists back from their experiments to our general mobile processing lab to continue processing that science. I think that we did in like the first couple of episodes. And start research. There we go. I'll actually continue gaining science, and since we're going back to and from Minmus a whole bunch, I think that'll actually be helpful to give us a little bit of a little bit of extra science to actually process that out, since it takes 8 days to transfer to Minmus on the basic Homan transfer. So, all right, now we've finished up these experiments. Let's decouple this. Ka-chunk. And we're going to send this home. It's full of the science experiments, so just back away from the station nicely and safely. And flip on that engine, and off we go. This thing has over 1,000 meters per second of delta V, so it got down safely. Let's just assume that. And there we go, 760 more science. Use that to get a couple more nodes. I think we're kind of blocked by the upgrade level of the R&D center, but we'll get to that another time. Meanwhile, the narrowband scanner is just now arriving here at Minmus, which looks lovely with that new stock visual terrain mod that someone suggested I install. So we're just coming in. We're going to kill our velocity. We're in a pretty inclined orbit, but it should allow us to get pretty good coverage over the moon here, to find ourselves a nice place. Ideally, I would like to find a spot on or near the flats so that I can build most of the base on the flats, because that would be a lot easier, I think, than trying to build on slopes, or even in places like the lowlands or the midlands. It's hard sometimes to find kind of a confluence of nice stable terrain and all the resources that you need. So I guess we're going to figure out what the resource allocation looks like now. So now that the narrowband scanner we've gotten into position, now we're going to just flip on the orbital survey scanner. So we'll perform that. So that just kind of goes and actually performs a little science experiment there. And now we have basic orbital survey information. Hooray! Alright, cool. So now we can actually check out the different resources. Now we're, just like before, we're seeing the different averages: hydrates, gypsum, carbonite. Very exciting. Looks like we have just about everything that we could possibly want here. And now we can see this, we can see it in the overlay mode, where it overlays over the planet, over the body itself, I suppose. Because now we flip over back to the narrowband scanner, and this is the real meat and potatoes of this whole thing here. We can actually see in the specific area what the resource allocation looks like in particular places, and then set waypoints so we can build our base. So this is how we are going to make our very specific plans. So I'm looking at this little ledge that overlooks the flats here, which I think would be a great place for the base. Because down in the flats, there's plenty of ore, minerals, rare metals, even some uraninite. Up on the hill itself, there's gypsum and hydrates, which we need, as well as carbonite, which we're going to use to make fuel. And then a little bit further back up the hill, there's things like substrate, which I know we're going to need for the farming bits. All right, so we've got that stuff set up. So I think now we'd also like to do the same for the future. So with one of my recent upgrades, with all that science that I just brought back, I unlocked nuclear rocketry. So this beast that we are launching now is going to be my first big nuclear rocket and my first interplanetary vessel. We are sending a survey craft with big antenna, big relays, and some big direct antenna as well, so that this thing can serve as a surveyor and a communications hub for future Duna operations. So this thing is being launched with a fairly standard configuration. I've got 3 Kiwi boosters, so big Space Y engines on the bottom there, because this thing is actually fairly heavy. And I've got those outer boosters, I've got them tied to the inside with fuel pipes so that they transfer their fuel inwards in kind of a 3-stalk asparagus staging. It's a very anemic sort of asparagus, but the basic idea is that central booster is going to have all of its fuel by the time the other outer two cut out. So we are getting pretty close to the cutoff for the boosters. Alright, let's kick those off, and there we go. Now we've got the big booster pushing us up into orbit. And we have on the end of this a fairly powerful, well, powerful, not really powerful, but it's got a ton of fuel for a nuclear rocket, and those are from Fuel Tanks Plus, I believe, those kind of funky ribbed tanks you see up at the top there, and those are full of just liquid fuel, which is what this what the nuclear rocket uses. And oh, it's a little bit wobbly. There's a little bit of wobble. I've used auto struts pretty liberally through these vessels to kind of keep them from being all strutted and like with big metal trusses kind of hanging off of them, but still rigid. But one of the places that I find it really needs it is in between the decouplers. So you saw I just auto strutted that there, so that should keep that a little more stable. And you see it's lost a lot of its wiggle, which is very nice. So, alright, we are just bringing this up as far into orbit as I possibly can. I want to get every little bit of delta V out of this thing as possible because Duna is not actually in phase with us right now. So this is not going to be an easy regular transfer out to Duna, because if you do it at the right time, then it actually doesn't take a whole lot of fuel to get out there. But if you just want to send something right this very minute and get it there as fast as possible, then you send up a big, hefty nuclear rocket completely packed with fuel. Because this thing has upwards of 5 kilometers per second of delta V. So this thing is getting there. Orbital mechanics be damned. Just about in orbit, so let's decouple and send the booster back home and break our fairing shroud as well. Here we go. So we're just going to circularize with our nuclear rocket. Very nice. And get all this stuff decoupled, or not decoupled, everything extended and deployed. You see, I've gotten, between my first launch and my second one, I have gotten all y'all back installed, which has been very nice, and trajectories as well, so that I can make better determinations of when things are going to smash into planets and so forth. Alright, so this great big winged craft, we send this up, coast up to our fairly high apoapsis. Alright. Tilt that forward. And there we go. Bring it up just to the node. So the lovely pink-purple real plume of the nuclear engine. Do quite like that. It's quite nice. But so I'll be using this, and the way that this is that it's low thrust in comparison to a lot of other engines. However, it is just so incredibly efficient that I end up with a pretty long burn. Like you see that it can be as long as 12 minutes of burning. And the idea is we just need to calculate this burn such that I have not only enough to get there, but enough to slow down. So I'm going to have to do some playing with the orbital mechanics and playing with the trajectory here to make sure that I actually get there. Because if I had just done this kind of normal, then as you can see, the planet would not be there when I arrived. So we've got to plan this out a little bit to make sure I get there, and then I'm able to slow down. So we kind of push it out really far, and let's see if I can't A lot of fiddling. Oh, there we go. That's getting a little bit closer. Oop, nope, lost it. Okay, so let's see. 1.2 million meters separation. Let's see. Maybe if I go a little bit faster? No. Because what I'd like is I'd like to get there as just early as possible so that I can... Oh, there we go. I'm trying to get there as early as possible so that I can... I want to get there as fast as possible so I can kind of accelerate this because I want to be ready for the next actual... what do you call it? I'm sure there's a word for that. But the next time that it's in... the planet is in phase for us to actually send the transfer when the transfer window is open. So looks like this is going to cost me something like 5,000 meters per second of delta V to actually enter, so I don't think that's going to work. Like that would have cost me something like 7,000 total meters per second of delta V to make that transfer and then to slow down in the orbit of Duna. So that's not going to work. So let's see if we can't find a better solution. We'll have to compromise a little bit on how fast we get there though. So this looks a little bit better with only 2.2 kilometers to get out there, which leaves us with 3.5 once we arrive. So what I'm just going to do is we're going to kind of tweak this in a little bit just to see. There we go. Bring that into a nice high polar. And now if I were to slow down at that point, there we go. It would cost me only 3,000 meters per second of delta V, which brings us up to about 5,300, I think, total, absolutely all told, out of the 5,800 that I had originally. So, or was it 55? Anyways, it's going to be just a few hundred meters per second shy of the entire delta V budget of this vessel, which is why you build nuclear, I guess, because we are getting there. Oh, well, shoot. So, okay. The problem is that when it takes several minutes to make the burn, you don't actually get the accuracy of the maneuver node down to the very last meter per second. So we're going to have to make some sacrifices again on this and see what I can do about getting there in a reasonable amount of time. Well, now I just need to make sure I get there within my delta V budget, period, because I have 3,500 meters per second left. The maneuver that I had originally planned was going to cost me about 3,000 to slow down, so I need to make sure I don't spend more than 500 in correcting this trajectory, or else I'm not going to be able to actually slow down once I get there. So let's play around with this and see what we can do. There we go. If we push it radial, I think that gets us in the direction we need to go, and that's only going to cost me another 100 meters per second. Yeah, that should work. So let's take a little closer look at how this intersects with Duna's sphere of influence. Oh, that kicks it right out. Okay, there we go. Yep, that gets us nice in that high polar intersect again. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to plan on this for now, and then we'll see how we get there when reality actually catches up with us. So let's make this burn. Getting closer. No, we didn't like that. Okay, here we go. I'll just do it manually, that's fine. There, that's beautiful. That will work. It's very high, but let's just make sure that we can actually slow down. Oh, man. Oh, geez. That is really close. All right, we're only going to have about 250 or so meters per second of delta V when we actually get there, but at this point we should be able to use the rest of that fuel to get down into a nice closer orbit. Yeah, so that's 80 to get down from that really high orbit to a tighter orbit. So I think we should be able to use what fuel we have left to get into a nice close orbit of Duna to do our survey work. Awesome, awesome. So we're getting there now. So I'm just going to push this out of Kerbin's sphere of influence really quick. We see we're leaving Kerbin and the moon behind. And we are getting ourselves nice and close. Now that we're out, well, 4 hours away from out anyways. But once we're out, I can set a Kerbal alarm clock reminder to tell me, hey, you're about to intersect with Duna, because I think that's something we'll want to pay attention to. Alright, so now we're going to get there in 213 days. So we can do our testing and proving of our base building technology on Minmus in the meantime. Alright, and here we are again. I am bringing in now a rover to do the third piece in the triangle of scanning, I guess. There's the orbital survey, which has to be done to get just a basic overview of what the resources are. There's the narrowband scanner, which is kind of the absolute truth of what type of resources there are in an area, and you can target it down to the specific location. And finally, there's the surface scan, which improves the accuracy of all of the above. So I figured we should bring down a little tiny rover and a little sky crane to make sure that all of our values are accurate and everything is working the way it should. Because we're going to take from this, we're going to take the actual values of what resources are where, because eventually we're going to need to use every single resource, and between these 3 locations that I think we're going to end up using, which is down in the flats, right here on the top of this hill, and then further back in the lowlands, we're going to build 3 bases that are connected through the various distribution methods that USI MKS has available to it. So there's planetary logistics that allows you to kind of have a big warehouse. There's rover logistics where you can actually ship stuff back and forth, and it's kind of implied that that's happening in the background. There's scavenging from nearby containers, and so there's a whole bunch of different ways to transfer resources back and forth, because the idea is you don't actually need to have a whole big spiderweb connected base where everything is in one place. So we should be able to actually have multiple bases that are nearby that are feeding each other resources. But in the meantime, let's scope out our first location. So I'm dropping this thing on the hill above that overlooks the flats that I want to build on. Because this is where some of the resources are that we're looking for. So I am going to just try to very gently, very carefully drop this rover and then not crush it with the lander. Here we go, and poik, and drop. And there it flies off, flying away. Maybe I should actually land this. I don't know if I need this for anything, or if I even can use it for anything. It doesn't have any docking ports or anything, but maybe having a big canister of fuel nearby will help. And the reason why I am building stuff on Minmus should become very clear now, because there is practically no gravity on this body. Look at this. I'm just able to kind of poik. With the reaction wheels set up, I can just land this thing on that tiny little toothpick, and it will just stay just fine. Alright, so here is my rover, which has broken wheels, and oh, I forgot something super important. No, God, why? Oh dear. I forgot a reaction wheel. This thing drove so nicely on Kerbin that I didn't even think about needing a reaction wheel or anything. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's embarrassing. So, no, I'm not gonna revert. This is what it is. We got the information for the Minmus lowlands, so that's done. But I'm not sure what else I can do to actually continue this mission. This thing just does not have any reaction wheels in it whatsoever. And the wheels are all busted. Yeah, it's just... I may just end up having to send up another one of these, but maybe if I just turn on these solar panels... Poik! Oh! It's moving up! Well, that's a precisely one-trick pony. Awesome. We're up at least, so that's certainly something. Oh man, this thing just is not... This is what I get for only testing this on Kerbin before I went ahead with the recording, because this does not drive well. I'm sure there's some settings that I can play with. Well, there we go on that anyways. We're moving forward and my steering is working in the correct direction, but this thing does not perform like it did on Kerbin. It is super floaty, and I'm sure that there's some way to make the controls and the traction control and the friction control and all that stuff, but I don't quite know too much. Oh gosh, I'm going too fast. No. 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 Oh, brakes, brakes, brakes. No, don't tip over. Oh, what a terrible idea this is. All right. Well, okay. Sure. Let's see. Keep going. Just... Oh, geez. This is 5.5 kilometers I need to drive like this. Apparently at this speed it's going to take me 13 minutes. No! I'm not going to make it 13 minutes doing this. Oh, come on. Oh. Well, it's... No! Oh, no! We've lost a solar panel. No! Okay. That's... Wait. It's still good. It's just a little airborne. Oh, wow. Okay, well, what can I do with the traction control? Maybe that'll make it stick more? Or maybe that'll make it not move at all. Tweak it down, I guess. Motor's just not running at that speed. Or at that level of traction control. It's probably something I should have looked into before I left. Oh! There we go. I got the motor moving again. And it's a little less slippery, slightly. But if I turn it up too high, it doesn't... Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Oh, that kind of acts as like an emergency brake almost. Here, let's pin this and see what we can do here. I'm 100% sure this is not how they do it at NASA. Okay. No. No, come on. Oh. Thump. Oh, geez. Nope, and this is not an extendable, retractable solar panel, so that was indeed a one trick. Maybe it'll keep rolling? Just keep rolling. Slowly. Ah. Friction control. Save me. No, there is no saving me. And that is, in fact, my own fault. So, let's send up. Here is my second attempt. I have sent up a whole brand new rocket and a whole brand new rover, and the only change is this one has a reaction wheel. One little wheel on top could have changed all of that silliness and made this thing at least able to control itself a little bit better. So let's see if this one works. Right, coming down. Try to come down a little bit more gently so that I don't bust the wheels, because I do not have an engineer out here to fix the wheels if these things break again. There we go. So we dropped that thing down. Perfect. Alright, we don't need you this time, so we're just going to send this off, hurtling off into the distance to smash down on another part of Minmus, far, far away, because I don't think I need two of those weird tanks here, so... Alright, so what we have here is the same exact thing. We've got the nice surface analyzer, so let's get the analysis of this area. And then we're off, and we're driving. And I did some work on setting up my control so that I was able to control the rotation with the reaction wheel with one hand and then the direction in the other. And then I drove straight up this cliff to get the analysis of that data up there. And then I thought that I would maybe, just maybe, drive back down to have a nice little usable survey rover. And we see how well that is going. Maybe it can fly. Maybe it will be fine. Smash! Ooh, we lost the wheel. Maybe we're good now. And you'll notice that I decided not to slow down or anything, hurtling down this cliff at 26 meters per second. Let's just see if I can fly a little bit better. Nope. Oh, and we lost control as well. Oh, wow. All right. So that's that, I suppose. So we have gotten the detailed surface data on all three of our base locations for the slopes, for the lowlands, and for the flats. And we have lots of good data, so I'm going to be doing some planning on exactly how to lay out these bases. Because I think there's going to be 3 bases, 2 small ones that are just to gather some resources, and then one large one that is going to have my habitation, and it's going to have the big farms and things like that. So those are the 3 locations that we're going to be building on. So that is what we will be up to next time. So I'm excited. We're going to be getting into it now. So we see that we have all of these resources, the minerals. We even have monazite, whatever the heck that is. I'll figure out what that does later on too. But until then, I will see you guys in the next episode.